Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Franchising 360 show brought to you by FranCoach. I am Tim Parmeter, and with me as always is Danielle Wright.
That's me.
Every week on the Franchising 360 show, we are going to take a 360-degree look at the franchising industry. We will discuss things like what you need to know to determine if you should own a franchise, if so, how to find the best one for you to own, tips to succeed once you are a franchise owner, as well as how to take your existing business and turn it into a franchise. Tonight we're going to talk about we got families, yay! And we have a major holiday coming up in 2 days.
Yeah, the patriarch of a family.
Father's Day. So to all of those fathers out there that, we get ignored, get abused, all of those horrible things, I just want to say happy Father's Day. You're doing a great job. Did you have anything to add to that?
Not a thing. I'm just here.
It's bro code. We got to stick up for each other.
Okay, great.
But we do want to talk about kind of how franchise ownership and some of the impacts it can have on a family.
Yeah. Well, and most men make those decisions, yes?
Not in my situation, no.
Oh,
but
really?
No.
Because, you're abused.
I'm all
bro
man.
code that you gotta have.
I'm all man. I wear the pants in the relationship.
Okay,
so
good.
You just tell me which one.
Then I just sit here. How's that?
So, but it's there probably is still more male dominated as far as household income. Not always, but this isn't Leave It to Beaver time, but there is still a little bit of that, right?
Yeah. And I think the purpose of this episode is just to kind of talk, sadly, you guys carry a lot of the family weight on your shoulders. So last time we were talking about the W-2 and the benefits, and a lot of families, you are the major breadwinner, but it's a lot to put on your shoulders. And so if you're going to make a decision to say, hey, I no longer want to work for someone,
right?
You're thinking it through, and you've probably assessed it every which way. And now you've got to make a decision, and you can't kind of do that alone.
Right. And the thing of, well, maybe you want to leave your job for that. Maybe you lost your job and you're like, gosh, do I want to go through that again or start that
again?
Business?
It's still a lot of stuff on your shoulders, not just the business and the job. It's your mortgage. It's your life. It's your family. It's your time. It's vacations. Right. Like all of the things fall on you.
It's why people think that at the beginning, it can seem very risky to make that
right.
jump. Right.
Well, yes.
And we're going to talk about some of the reasons why it may be risky, but also some of the reasons why people kind of overcome that.
Right.
Some of the rewards.
Risk reward. That's why there's a balance on that pendulum.
But it is also Friday, which means it is time for the Friday Franchise Fun Fact.
Yes.
Sponsored still by nobody, amazingly, but until we get that
but that's okay.
Major sponsor, what do you got for us tonight?
We got two fun facts.
Ooh, two.
Pick A, pick B.
I'm going to go with A.
Okay. So we talk a lot about boutique fitness here, but it's seeing a huge rise in the franchising world. And so it's projected to hit $70 billion globally in 2025.
70 billion with the B.
70 billion.
Okay.
Yeah. So wellness is all the rage. So
Not
if
exactly
you're thinking about a wellness business, please give FranCoach a call, because it's where it's at right now.
Right. That is crazy. What is, just out of curiosity, what was B?
That's not fair. Like, you got to tune in next week to see what B is. I got to save the Friday fun facts. There's only so many, and I'm only so fun for so long.
On Fridays. So, so that's our fun facts, which is $70 billion. Even that,
billion.
Sometimes those industry stats even throw me off.
Global, right? But when you think about, there are 4,500 franchise brands in the U.S. alone, you start maximizing that and you go into other countries, you're like, whoa, okay. 70 billion. What's that thing that we were watching? Mark Cuban?
Masterclass.
Yeah. Don't tell me that you need just 1%. I'll tell you just need 1% of 70 billion. Let's go.
Right. Exactly. That's not a bad place to start. And again, it shows just, I think in general, that is a sector that is going to continue to grow. We are like, we're getting older. We are trying to do a better job of taking care of ourselves in every way possible.
Being healthy long term is a big a big thing. And when people talk about recession, what have you, when we're talking about dads and fathers and the patriarch of the family looking to take care, they're also taking care of themselves so that they're around a long time to be able to support that family with whatever decision they make. Look at that tie I just made there.
Excellent. And I'm still a little sore from doing Pilates the other day.
Yep. I let him do some mat Pilates. I don't want
to end up with a dad bod.
And on that note,
assuming that I don't already have one, we're going to come back after this break and talk a little bit about kind of the family values aspect of owning a franchise, the risk, and then those potential rewards. That's next on the Franchising 360 show. All right. We are back on the Franchising 360 show. I'm Tim Parmeter with Danielle Wright. Danielle, we were kind of leading into this as, with Father's Day a couple days away and how potential franchise ownership can really affect the entire family, and a lot of pressure sometimes on dads in those situations to bring home the bacon, so to speak.
Yeah. So if we rewind back to some episodes that we have had, we've talked about generational wealth. We have talked about freedom and flexibility, and at the helm of most families is, hey, how do I support them? How do I make sure that their lives are taken care of? And that falls typically on a dad's shoulders. But I'm a big fan of our personal stories,
right?
But kind of the same for you. You became a business owner and you've owned franchises. Come on, Dad, tell us what it means to be a dad and a business owner.
Yeah, well, and I think mine is no different than almost everybody we talk to at FranCoach. When you ask them why are you even thinking about this, money, 99 times out of 100, money is not the first thing out of their mouth.
99 out of 100. So you're saying
one out of 100 may say money right off the bat, but what they're going to say is control. And that usually means time, lifestyle, freedom, flexibility.
You can't be a dad.
Yes. And that was me.
Or a husband, a spouse, you know.
Right. And that was
racquetball player. That
was totally my thing, being at an inflection point in life before you of having, at that time, Logan was really little and you're trying to figure out, gosh, how do we manage co-parenting? Where Logan's mom lives isn't exactly in the most urban part of the world. So I'm like, gosh, how am I going to get a job and still do all those things I want to do as a dad?
Right.
And the answer was I couldn't, right? So it was really I needed to do something for myself so I could control my time, the freedom, flexibility to do those things. When you and I first met, right, and you'll reference this sometimes, I didn't work on Fridays, right? That was a day dedicated for Logan when he was itty bitty, right? And to be able to have that flexibility that I was not going to have as an employee.
Or the anxiety around it, right? Because think about it. You could do that in the work world. I could work 4 days and have the 5th day off.
Right.
But I'm using that as a vacation time.
Right.
Or whatever that may be. But you generally take that time off and you're checking your emails and wondering what calls you're missing and experiencing a lot of anxiety from what you're missing out on. So you may not be truly in that moment with your family at that time.
Correct. Right. And especially now as he's 12 now, so
he doesn't like spending time with you.
Right. Very
Him
limited.
and his room have bonded quite nicely.
Very limited as a, preteen angst.
I mean,
right?
Mine's getting ready to go off to college and I'm wanting more time with him than he's wanting time with me. So I replace that with golf. It's fine.
And so, but it also, that ability from my standpoint was key, that ownership of all things with my time. And then it kind of rolled into our family dynamic is not the most, I guess, typical situation.
Correct.
From that perspective, but it allows me to hop on a plane and fly back and forth. And still I can work while I'm on the plane to a certain point, but I am in control of what that is to make our crazy, weird family dynamic work as best as we can possibly make it.
And I think for any of the viewers, when we're talking about dads taking these responsibilities, we're seeing generations now want to spend more time with their children, not just be about a job and income, but there is still the stress of making sure the family unit is taken care of no matter what. And I get a lot of people in that space of my kids are going to college. And so there's that expense that they're now putting out more money for their kids to go to school than maybe our parents did. And that's something to think about. Like, can I leave a job right now to open a business and still keep my unit the way that it needs to be? So just lots of things to think. And sorry that there's so much pressure from like a societal space that dads like have to carry the burden.
Well, and I think most of that pressure is for, I think all of us in anything, we're putting more on it ourselves. Right? From that perspective. But if you think of what really is important, yes, we need money to, pay the bills and eat and all of those type of things. But I think it's just becoming more and more common to have a focus on the time and the experience and living
health,
the
like
life.
we started with the health conversation. Like, you're contributing to your health and your longevity of life.
Right.
And might as well be happy doing what you want to do and having that time, balance and that control versus, hey, I'm going to take all my vacations as every Friday for the foreseeable future.
Or even just the experiences of, as much as, the car line at school, drop off and pick up, like, is not the most efficient things in the world, right? But just having that experience of whatever crazy songs on the radio that I'm blaring that he's trying to turn down, so I'm not dancing in the car line or whatever. Well, we get that little time and that bond and that experience, because again, I'm completely
in control of the,
right? So, but there are some other things to this as well when we come back, because there's also those lessons that we get to teach our kids as a business owner that kind of get lost and really don't come up as an employee. So then, and I think it's one of the more hidden things in this is those lessons. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and give some examples of those when we come back here on the Franchising 360 show. Welcome back to the Franchising 360 show. I'm Tim Parmeter with Danielle Wright. Danielle, we are talking about, the amazing human beings that are fathers.
Yes.
My words, perhaps not necessarily yours.
Good ones, yeah.
But the, one of the things we talked about wanted to talk about was some of the lessons as a father and a parent and a family our kids can learn and pick up on from seeing you on that entrepreneurial journey.
I'm one of those products, right? Like my dad, full-time job all of his life, retired, what have you. My stepdad, same thing, but he had a side business and still works that business now that he's retired from his corporate job. So I got to see a lot of sacrifice of time and efforts and dollars, but then the rewards were, we went on amazing vacations and have properties and like financially and emotionally for the family. It was a great thing. Even now he gets to live a very nice life because he did that. But I learned a lot of, I think when we think jobs, we get a lot of work ethic out of our parents. Yes, my dad showed up to his job every day, very rarely called out sick, committed to a company till he retired. Same with my stepdad, but I also got to see what it meant to be a business owner. Yeah. And the highs and a lot of the lows that come with that and how you push through those because the benefit is truly great.
Yeah. And I think you talk about the lows, like, I think it's important for people like kids, but adults too. You have to know how to kind of get your butt kicked and fail. And what are you going to do from that standpoint? But the lessons, I think it's somebody said to me 15 years ago, oh, if you own a business, it will help teach your kids so many things. I don't know that I would have gotten it until I've experienced it.
Yeah. And I think this happened for you more frequently now that Logan's older and my kids are older, and I've been in franchising since my son was 4 and he's 17. So there is a lot of planning he's doing for his life based on being exposed to a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong.
Still wants a job.
Right. Like, nothing wrong with going to get a job. Yeah. Absolutely nothing wrong with that.
But they believe in these side hustle things.
They understand there's another pathway if they choose
a similar pathway.
Right.
They can
create their own.
They're seeing that there's a choice. They're seeing that I can do both.
Right.
And that's remarkable based on some of the people that we talk to. They feel like there has to be one or the other. So being able to expose your children to things that we didn't know, right? Like we talk finances all the time. How little did we know, or how little were we taught growing up? Like I was taught how to write a check, maybe balance a checkbook.
Correct.
But credit cards, all of those things, just they weren't discussed.
No. And really for me growing up with, like, my dad was an educator. My mom was mom. Right. And so that was kind of all like, go to college, get a degree, get a job, right? All those things. And there's nothing wrong with that. And for my kid, he sees like all around on different.
His mom and his stepdad have jobs.
Right.
Yep.
Degrees, jobs, all of those things. But he also sees business ownership. And I think there's a creativity there that I didn't understand coming into this, of like, not just like I could do whatever, but coming up with the ideas. And sometimes and Austin, your son has done this too, where they've come up with some ideas from a marketing or promotion idea. You're like, whoa, hold on. Like, that's not bad.
Right.
And again, that I think it's just expanding their mind in ways that I never ever could have imagined.
Because we talked about fear on other episodes as well. We're kind of squashing that fear early on so that they don't have it. They understand that it's a reality, but fears are not real.
Right.
So if you can help to educate them as they continue to, I mean, my son will talk pro formas. He will talk profit. Like, what's 17-year-old person? Like, and you see a lot of college kids going and like getting into college because they've started this small business. We talk to people now, like, if you had a paper route when you were a kid, or you sold lemonade in a stand, people love that because it shows that entrepreneurial piece.
Right.
We just weren't fostered that kind of knowledge as we were younger. So they listen to all of our calls. They hear all of our things. So they're picking up on key things that you wouldn't learn even if you had a business degree.
Yeah. And I think go back to the biggest thing with franchise ownership, when you find the right fit, follow the plan, work hard, right? And we're showing our kids that same thing.
The ethic.
Now, yes, do I have the ability to go pick him up from school every day? Yep. Like, might we stop and get a snack before we get home?
But you still go back to work when you get home, yes?
Correct,
like,
right?
Okay.
Hey, dude, are you good? I got a call. I got to hop on, right? So he's seeing that, those work ethic things, I think, really play
and the balance and the control. Like, you have the control to go get him. He doesn't have to ride a bus. He doesn't have to walk in the 100-degree heat in Arizona. Like, there are those small luxuries I think we as parents forget exist. And it's the thing that a kid thrives on.
Yes. Or even seeing, and both of ours, that we have this super cool picture from all four of us being at a franchise conference 2 years ago, where they're literally the boys are wearing the Franchisee 101 podcast t-shirt, right? Yeah. So like, if you have to use your children as marketing billboards, so be it.
Yeah. They're much cuter than we are. So.
Yes. But we want to talk a little bit more about some of the fear elements, and always say lean into the fear, because it is real. On the other
step on it, it's a villain.
On the other side, when you learn more, it may actually be scarier to stay where you are than to keep moving forward. So a little bit more on this to celebrate the amazing fathers out there on Father's Day here on the Franchising 360 show when we return. Welcome back to the Franchising 360 show. I'm Tim Parmeter with Danielle Wright. We are talking about some of the family dynamic that comes into play with this, some of the things that are fearful, but also a little bit different from a franchising standpoint. And I know you want to talk about kind of the financial literacy almost, maybe, right?
Sure.
With this. Can I throw one other thing out there really fast? Because I know we talked about it and I don't want to forget it.
And I love this when you say can. No, you can't.
Good. I'm going to do it anyway. So, if I own a franchise as the father, the spouse, whatever.
Yes.
And it's my thing that I'm going to be doing full time. This isn't like a job. This is still the family business, right?
Are you taking family money to buy it?
More than likely, yes.
Are you going to take resources, i.e. time, away from the family unit?
Possibly taking some, possibly giving some back, right? So, but it very different from a job situation. I'm not going to an interview and showing up for a job and going, hey, do you mind if my wife sits in on this?
And I'm bringing my kids to even though that has happened, I've seen it.
Right.
Seen videos.
Probably going to go well, right? For that. With the franchise side, like that is encouraged, borderline required for the spouse to be involved. Correct. Either way with this. We're going to tell our clients to get them involved as early as possible.
And on the franchise,
you're going to do the same thing.
Expected to participate.
Totally different. So it really is that family
questions, but being present to kind of understand, because what's notorious for happening is we'll use you, like, go down the whole entire path. It's now time to make a commitment. And then I'm over here like, whoa, bud. And like,
and no matter how hard I
want that new Lexus. Am I going to get that with this? Like, what's up?
But no matter how hard I am trying to properly relay all of the information,
right.
It's just impossible to do that.
And I'm going to want to fact check you, right? Just because you've said it, I need to hear it a second time.
I could be a dirty liar.
Someone else.
There's just too much information.
It's just, you're going to hear it differently. And maybe we need to hear it 2 or 3 times to, okay.
Which is why there's a lot of repetitiveness in this process anyway. Or again, you're going to hear things differently. You're going to feel that vibe. So just do know it really is a family.
Right.
Like we were going to embrace the family in this process.
But in a lot of the processes, like the spouse leads the discovery.
Right.
And then they bring in the other spouse. And I can say specifically, I just had a client do this, went through the whole thing, went to a meet the team without his spouse. And now we're at a stopgap because she's not, she's really, and I keep getting, she's really in on it. Right.
Really? Yeah.
Really? So
get them involved.
There are some legal things to the franchise agreement, by the way, that if you're married, there are things like kind of the reason why we want everyone to be involved. But back to Father's Day and fathers and, well, I don't know, it's financial. Like, I just think a lot of weight is put on the head of the household's shoulders when it comes to making these types of decisions. But I also think you're teaching, like we had said in the previous segment, you're teaching everyone about the way to look at the economics of the household, right? Like, can I do this? We had talked about paycheck and addictions on previous episodes that, okay, if I got to make this because these are my bills, then sit everybody down and let's have the solid conversations. I never knew what the bills were in my parents' house. That was never something that we discussed. But I find with people that go into business ownership, it's opening the door to teaching our children, like, there isn't money falling on a tree in the backyard and I just scrape it up every morning and throw it in the bank.
Right.
Or it gives the opportunity for those protectors, those providers to kind of walk through, hey, this is our life, but these are the things that we're going to have to take a hit on, right? Like maybe we're going to buy knockoff toilet paper versus the Charmin. So just things that the protector and provider of the household gets to open the door to.
We're all in this together. We may go backwards a little because let's be honest, you're going to go backwards a little bit at the beginning.
Sorta. I mean, look, if you plan it right and you follow the systems, you should be able to, this is not an earnings claim, you should be able to walk into something that you vetted out that is replacing your net income.
Like, and if you missed that, check out last week's episode.
Or the one before that.
The one before
where
that.
We're talking about that.
But no, it really is again, the opportunity to control your life in all aspects for you and your family with this.
Educate, which is what we're always talking about. Like you're getting to educate your family, your kids, your support system, all of those things in this one vetting process.
So, if you are at a point where you want to learn more about this, don't forget, check out our FranCoach YouTube channel. Don't also just go straight to francoach.net. That's where we are here if you want to learn a little bit more about this. Next week, we have a guest.
Yay.
I know. We are going to talk to the CEO of the absolute leading business service provider franchise in the stinking world. They're going to be here with us next week.
Awesome.
I know.
I love it when we have guests.
Pretty excited.
You know why?
Why?
Because then I don't have to talk.
As much. So, we will, until then, that is Danielle Wright.
That's me.
I'm Tim Parmeter, and this has been the Franchising 360 show. See you next Friday.